Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Elden Ring, Fear the Old Lore Unpatched. So yesterday we went off going through most of the Altus Plateau area of the northern continent, doing the Yura stuff, a little bit of the Millicent stuff, fighting Margit and getting Marika's Scar Seal or Sword Seal from him, which is a little bit different. Scar Seal, yeah, that's what I thought. And we left it off here in Shaded Castle so we could go ahead and get Millicent's Prosthesis and continue from there. So I hope everyone is doing well. Rat, nice to see you again. Mercy. So I didn't talk about Shaded Castle at all last time we came here because we just barely arrived before I ended the stream. This place is covered in poison. Wait, are these textures messed up? Why is this so white? Oh yeah, these are pieces of poop, essentially, I think is what they're actually supposed to be. But they just don't have any textures on this version of the game. That's kind of silly. So the way that I normally go about getting Millicent's Prosthesis is just jumping off the castle and going around by the Miranda flowers. Not that there's any one proper way to do it, I just think it's a little bit faster. And surrounding the castle is a moat filled with poison and a bunch of the slugs that have the worms in them that we kind of showed off beneath one of the bridges last time. So with these slugs kind of surrounding that body, it makes me wonder if they eat gold. Which, I mean, wouldn't really be too surprising because, really, if you ate anything in the lands between, it probably has a little bit of gold to some degree, right? Morgott having the weight of the order on his hands. It's all good, Rat. Yeah, don't miss out on your watch, and my condolences for still having to do that stuff. So yeah, this gets us really close to the ladder that we need to go to get the prosthesis. So this is kind of why I like to come this way. Don't remember if there's actually anything worthwhile down there. I'm not going to fret it. Oh yeah, so that's cool. These kind of zombie looking things, which are not those who live in death, can spray out the maggots in their bodies as an attack. So this is a better angle of the kind of maggots within them and stuff. I'm probably gonna get hit, but oh, beautiful. Yep. Wow, that does a lot of poison. A little bit more than I was expecting. And since we're in the tower or castle area itself, we can't use Torrent, which is a little bit annoying, but it's alright. I'm a little bit curious as to when these buildings became submerged, if you want to call it that. And aside from these zomboid type things, there are a bunch of revenants around the Shaded Castle. So it's good to have a healing incantation. But I don't have that. So we're gonna struggle. Well, I guess, we still have Stomp, which is always ridiculously powerful in this build. Ooh, I wasn't trying to get that fourth one, but it just worked out. So Beast Blood. Yeah, we got the Poison Goop. I don't have Bloodhound Step. Otherwise, I just zoom past this. But we do have Quick Step. Hey Boris, nice to see you again. Saint Trina, nice to see you. Thank you. For anybody who doesn't know, Saint Trina is also a streamer on Twitch, if this is the same Saint Trina, which I assume it would be. She makes really interesting content looking at the trans between. Very different angle from the way that I approach the lore, which I appreciate. Yes, dear. Alright, so let's put on a little Quick Step Blade with the Erdsteel Dagger. I don't think this will help too much, but we'll see. A decent amount. Alright, and I'm still medium rolling. That's good. Hey Stella, nice to see you again. And Cantrell as well. I don't remember if I said hey. So yeah, these buildings kind of remind me of what you'd see in Leyndell. Oh, there's a perfumer there? I don't remember if he's there in retail. Oh yeah, and I suppose I should go see like the other perfumers in this area. Yeah, Shaded Castle's perfumers are pretty strong. So yeah, the cobblestone tiles, or not cobblestone. What are they called? I'm blanking. I know like the roof tiles, they kind of remind me of what you'd find in Leyndell, but I might be misremembering. I think they also kind of look like the Nox type buildings, but there are those Nox type buildings in Leyndell. So I'll need to like double check because memory is a fickle thing. They need to chill out. Thank you, Rhett. And as we proceed through the Shaded Castle, we'll eventually start encountering Cleanrot Knights. So Cleanrot Knights are actual followers of Millennia. Not posers, I guess. We should have one just chilling over here. It's all hunched over. So it can be doubtful whether or not these are actually Millennia soldiers or just like cosplayers because the Murray of the Shaded Castle was a fanboy of Millennia. Because I could also like see it being a canonical lore thing that he just gathered a bunch of the armor. Especially like when you look in the not throne room, like the main hall, I guess you could call it. Because he's got like a ton of like prostheses and everything. So Valkyrie's Prosthesis. And I'll talk about those statues in a second. A golden prosthetic smithed using ancient methods. If properly trained, it can be used to articulate a blade as if it were an extension of the body. I don't think I have the talisman that goes along with that. Maybe I do. Okay, yeah, we do. The prosthesis wearer's heirloom. So if you zoom in super close on this, it does look like both of the figures in this have prostheses on their arms. Or for their arms, rather. So, if I had the curved sword talisman, it would talk about how the like blue dancer's strategy was essentially to take a hit and then counter it. And so it would probably help to be able to take a hit with an arm that's not going to cause you like physical pain or like bleed or anything like that. So it is interesting that Millennia did get bested essentially by the mentor at some point. Well, maybe she didn't get bested, but at the very least, like her having a mentor shows like she wasn't just always a kind of like crazy prodigy despite being an Empyrean. The perfumer's armor are kind of similar to the Nox. I don't know about that, but I see what you mean. But I mean, like a lot of the robe type stuff kind of ends up looking similar. Oh, right, is that different? Let me look at that again. Oh yeah, that does have a bit more to it. Male Murray. So a little funny translator note, like Male Murray, it's essentially the same word repeated in Japanese. It's mare mare, so it's I think it's supposed to be more like Marley Murray, but just kind of like a linguistic pun. Yeah. And as Trent says, Millennia did get her arm whacked off by Radon like a trade. True story there. So she still kind of like followed her master's teachings, I guess, in that opening cinematic. Very beautifully done, too. So yeah, as we go throughout the Shaded Castle, there's going to also be a ton of sculptures throughout that show up in many other places. Like this is the Carian one with the what I call the Primeval Current Sigil, but it's probably just more like an ancient Rayolacarian symbol, to be honest. Then we've got like the statue that appears at the Precipice of Anticipation, telling us to like go out and go forth. Essentially, looks like it's supposed to be like petting something. This lady right here is the kind of like Valkyrie that like wields a spear in front of like Leyndell and on like the Grand Lift of Dectus, but she doesn't seem to have the spear. And maybe like the one we see over there has like armor on it. I'm not sure. Is there anything else over here? Okay, these just seem to be repeats. So, Sinister Stromboli likes to believe that the Radigan Merica statue sculpture could have come from Shaded Castle. I don't necessarily believe it, but I also don't think there's like enough to disbelieve it. I like the theory, but it's just a little bit lacks the evidence for me to be like fully on board with it. But I like it nonetheless, which is why I bring it up now. This is where I came, yeah. It's always kind of hard to remember if there's any worthwhile treasure in certain locations. So that body doesn't even have like an item on it. It's funny. Xavier, welcome back. You think those statues are placeholders to represent millennia? I don't know about that just because we see these statues in so many other places, but I guess you did say like they're placeholders. I could kind of see that. But if that were the case, like it is disappointing that we don't have like the statues that appear in like the Halig Tree area that could potentially actually represent millennia. I don't think there's anything under this. Fringe Folk Rune. I actually didn't even realize I could just make that jump and hop on over. I always took the stupid ladder next to the Revenant. That's kind of convenient now that I know about that. Yeah, I'm gonna hop on back over to the other side of the roof just to check out what's on top. Goo Nasty, Gun Nasty, welcome in. Astanex, nice to see you again. Voice of the old ones. Definitely fell asleep the last stream. It's my voice. My fault. It's all good. I appreciate the the views nonetheless. Puzzle-headed, nice to see you again. You wonder how many hundreds of hours the dev team puts in just for environmental storytelling? There has to be a lot in terms of, like... I don't think much of this would be, like, AI-generated, or whatever you want to call it, like... artificially placed. I'm sure they must do that to some extent, especially for like the big open areas. But yeah, FromSoft's level design has always been pretty stellar. Like even though like Demon Souls, you know, is kind of ancient and you can feel its age, like I really enjoyed like Boletaria, Castle Latria, Tower Latria. I was pleasantly surprised by Demon Souls. I was expecting something more like Dark Souls 2, but I actually enjoyed it more than Dark Souls 2 somehow. That isn't to say that it's not like without its own issues, but... Thank you, Gunnasty. Gunnisty. You think Shabriri was the one who made that statue and glimpsed the skeleton in Radigan's closet? Could explain his crimes of slander and why his talisman depicts a sculpted figure. Xavier says, he's obsessed with millennia. You can see another reason there's a bunch of women statues. Well, I mean, there is the potential that these statues could predate Molly's rule, or I guess rule, if you can call it that. So these are some of the depraved perfumers. I don't want to get close to two of them because they can really easily screw me up. I'm debating sipping my mana now, but efficiency, YOLO. Did I get both or just the one? Just the one, okay. How dare an enemy have the ability to like dodge and run away. Golden smithing stone. Okay, so nothing too crazy up here. Alright, that just drops down back there. Okay. Demon Souls gets hard if you die a lot. Yeah, it definitely could have used some improvements. It's a little bit ironic that. Yeah, I did not like even know that world tendency. I mean, I heard of world tendency, but I like the game doesn't ever talk about it at all. So it's like, how the hell is anybody supposed to like figure this stuff out? All right, and that's the corpse without an item that we saw earlier. So I'm just gonna go ahead and fast travel back to that grace that we just picked up. You never beat Dark Souls 2, but you beat all the others. Understandable. Yeah, the only reason why I went through Dark Souls 2 is because I wanted to do like lore videos and stuff, and I needed the extra context as well as the footage. But hey, Davin, nice to see you again. It's been a while. Wraith Callers are very interesting and mysterious to you. Very little text on them. Maybe ancestor to the modern Carians. You thought there was something I missed? Up there? I'm pretty sure there's like nothing like super significant in this area. I could also like jump down later. Yeah, so going back to like the Wraith Callers, I have wondered if they're supposed to be related to the Snow Crone, like the thing that Ronnie is modeled her doll after. Because her doll has 4 arms and the Wraith Callers have multiple arms, so it just kind of seems like it could work to me. Okay, this statue is a little bit different. So I think this is supposed to be like the urn pouring woman, but she doesn't have an urn. I don't remember if this figure shows up anywhere else. I kind of assumed that it would. You could also make the argument that maybe it's supposed to be Millennia, but I kind of hate how like the thing has become transparent sometimes, but it doesn't. Maybe it's supposed to be inflicted with scarlet rot. It's just a little bit hard to tell with all like the weathering and stuff. Oh, this one might be better. Some more ambient lighting. Yeah, I think that's just more weathering. And Millennia might not have eyes. It's a little bit weird. Thank you, Nightbot. Rat says they feel like Elden Ring's lore is missing a whole lot of context on a level even like beyond Dark Souls. It's a little bit weird because I feel like on one hand I completely agree, and then on the other I would disagree because it feels like we get a lot of context for quite a lot of things, but we're just missing like the more essential thing sometimes, which is a little bit hard to reconcile, I guess. So I know that's a little bit of a vague statement, but like one of the things that I point to quite a lot with the lore in Elden Ring specifically is like, at least in Dark Souls, it felt like you kind of understood the motivations of Gwyn and like Seath to a certain degree, and even like arguably Velka, for as much as we meme on Velka. Like, that isn't to say like Velka is without her mysteries, but it's kind of clear like what she stood for the most part. Whereas like in Elden Ring, we know Ranni did her thing and she has a grudge against her 2 fingers, which is totally understandable, but the stuff with Godwyn is still completely unanswered. Like, why did she kill Godwyn specifically? Was he just like collateral damage in her quest to remove her body or her soul from her body? Like, those are like really fundamental questions which I don't feel are like hinted at nearly the same way as like Dark Souls. But to be fair, like Dark Souls also has characters like Rampt and Koth, which give a bit more exposition. But to like discredit Dark Souls, like you can't trust Rampt or Koth as far as you could throw either one until you super go down the rabbit hole, and there's probably like no real correct answer. Like, a lot of it just comes down to individual interpretation and how you feel about them. Oh, man. Glad I didn't heal. Okay. Does Elden Ring have more, less, or about the same? So, Elden Ring definitely has way more items, so you do get, like, more lore overall, and that's why I say, like, it feels like Elden Ring has, like, a lot of lore, but we're just missing, like, the critical components to really understand things, I feel. So there's, like, a lot of questions that are similar to Elden Ring as Dark Souls, but I think one issue with Elden Ring compared to Dark Souls is that it's more layered. So to contextualize that a bit, I think like in Dark Souls there's like the hint of a civilization that existed before like the Age of Fire, before like Gwyn et al. Completely took over Lordran and everything. However, in Elden Ring there's like multiple examples of that which could have been a thing. So we have the Nox potentially like being in Leyndell or like beneath it to consider. I'm just gonna heal. And potentially before the Nox you could have like the Banished Knights and like the Stormlord, the Flame Giants, and arguably like the Ul and Uld empires before that. Yeah, in tandem with like all those questions, we have the astrologers who predated like the Carians. Like Renala is an astrologer. You can throw Koth pretty far. Yeah, okay. With your Unga Bunga build. Zero Spawn, nice to see you. You like the theory that Godwin wasn't the intended target. Yeah, there's just so much you can. There's just so much at play in Elden Ring, which like Dark Souls felt a little bit more black and white, I guess. Pun intended? I don't know. Which is kind of funny because I feel like Dark Souls in general is like a game of very moral grays. Oh god. Statues. Okay. I forget how bad the tracking is sometimes. Like, sometimes it's good, and then other times it just... Es no bueno. Oh, maybe I shouldn't do this for, like, the patches stuff. Well, I could at the very least, like, go in there. Or, like, look in before, like, completely walking in. Because patches shouldn't pop up yet. So I guess I'll have to leave this area for now. Didn't think about that. Yeah, and Estella says we do have the 3 games of Dark Souls and their DLC, which I think is also a big component to things. Because I would not say like Dark Souls 1 is anywhere like close to Elden Ring in terms of like their base level of content. I guess I'm not going to walk in. Wait, that one looks like a dude almost. Oh no, it's just like the angle I was looking at, I guess. It just looked a little bit more masculine. Okay. So we'll leave the shaded castle, like, interior part for now. So let's just go back down to the ramparts a little bit. Yeah, you can know all this lore about the Crucible Knights, which are supposed to be wiped out, but you aren't allowed to know who the Glowmite Queen is. Yeah, and so, like, Elden Ring just has so many layers that it's hard to ever get to the core of something, I feel like. Whereas like Dark Souls is more straightforward that way. So I guess I could use this as a shortcut. Honestly, I've just like never really used shortcuts here. No, I guess I did go up there. So that we should be fine here. Alright. So we'll go see Millicent again. And then see if we can summon her for the ancient... Not ancient thing, but the Dragon Tree Sentinel. Timmy Johnston, nice to see you again. You feel like a large chunk of the lore in Elden Ring is missing, sort of like the story is unfinished and rushed. The whole Mikkel and St. Trina thing. Yeah, there is also that. I don't feel like a lot of it is really unfinished. I just feel like a lot of it is a little bit untold. Obviously, kind of intentionally at times. George Martin didn't finish the story in time. Rip. Hey, Devin, nice to see you, man. How have you been? Yeah, and for anybody who doesn't know Devin Guy, he also streams on Twitch. He does like a lot of lore playthroughs and just like a lot of like challenge playthroughs, kind of like with specific weapons and stuff. He makes a lot of really good observations too. Yeah, like most of it is like 50 to 80% complete. Yeah, I can feel that. Welcome back to the stream, Skal.
Now, I'm tracing the path Melania took. She's passed into the lands that lie beyond the Erd Tree. Are you giving me this arm? Thank you. I am in your debt yet again, I think. If the arm serves well enough, it might be possible for me to wield a sword again. If the arm serves well enough, it might be possible for me to wield a sword again. Perhaps then I can aid you in battle.
So we give her the prosthesis. She's like, oh yeah, this is dope. Obviously, she just said that stuff. I'm just stalling while I reload the game. You get answers to 1 or 2 questions, but everything else is just blank. Honestly, that's kind of customary for the FromSoft games and like, you know, what I would call like the modern era of gaming.
If the arm serves it might.
Okay, so she didn't say anything else, which is perfectly fine. We will go to the Ramparts then. I know there's a spirit spring down there. Yeah, it's probably faster than trying to deal with the golems. Can't remember. Yeah, okay. Not a good enough angle to like see the Halig tree and stuff. But you can see the Forbidden Lands, and this gives you like a little bit of a clearer picture of it. There is this gigantic giant skull that you can like jump into its mouth, and I think it has an item. That's another giant over there, a little bit more visible. So it's kind of funny to me that you can like see these areas without fog from a distance, but when you go to them, it's just completely filled. And one of the other things about Altus Plateau, which I forgot to mention, is that the rocks here seem almost as though they themselves are infused with gold. I think certain stones and like the glintstone rises could be this kind of Altus Plateau stone. And I do wonder if these stones specifically are meant to coincide with like the smithing stones, because they do look somewhat similar. It's kind of hard to make out though. Like these ones are obviously brighter, but I feel like the large hard ones show that off a bit more. Lore bloat where lore is less important, and lore drought where lore is more important. It's a little bit of both at times. Maybe people care more about Elden Ring's missing lore because it's actually super interesting. Well, I just feel like there's more lore in general, so people have more opportunities to find something that they're interested in. Alright. Yeah, I didn't know if I could summon her for this one. Okay, here it is. So we get Millicent. She has her prosthetic arm. The only bad thing about like summoning cooperators like this is that it totally disables the ability to ride on Torrent, which can be helpful for like some of these overworld fights. Do I think grace is your specific path set by the stars, or is grace a given path given to you by the Golden Order or Greater Will? It's a little bit strange because Wilhelm had his grace point him to like studying the primeval current, where it's like Vargrim's essentially made him a pseudo Shadowhound beast, cosplayer. Oh yeah, this thing can bleed. Yeah, one of the times I went through this area on my 1.0 playthroughs, I just like speed ran it over here, and so this dude was extremely difficult to kill. Maybe I wasn't using Hoarfrost Step. So, Draconic Tree Sentinel. I always forget what these are actually called. Devin feels like most of the gold throughout the Lands Between was deposited when the Elden Star landed. We can see a lot of it at the end of caves. I think it's possible that a lot of the meteoric stuff could have definitely predated the Elden Ring. And I have wondered whether or not gold is native to the Lands Between, because if the dragons ruled before the Elden Star's Elden Ring time happened, and they were infused with gold, you could make the argument that that gold could have been in the Lands Between earlier. And it might have just been like infused into the rocks of Altus Plateau through lightning, or even the dragons through lightning. Maybe that's kind of like how life came to be in the Lands Between in general, just like through lightning and gold and stuff. I don't know. Some random ideas. For Davin, the amount of the untold story is just right. There's a lot more symbolic connectivity between characters and concepts than the other games. You enjoy Ratatosker's channel a lot. Yeah, like, everything is connected to everything else, which is kind of normal for a FromSoft game. But, like, one of my favorite ways that I've heard, like, Soulsborne lore being described is quote-unquote spaghetti lore. Like, you pull on one thread or noodle of the lore, and then just everything gets clumped together, and you don't know where it's going. It just becomes this massive tangle. Alright, so Dragon Great Claw, and I forgot what else I picked up from this, so if you guys remind me in chat, that would be appreciated. A weapon whittled from the claw of a great ancient dragon, weapon of grotesque arbor sentinels who worship the dragons of old. The claw is enwreathed with lightning, and tears through the dragon's feeble descendants with ease. So that's some cool stuff. It does help elaborate that the modern dragons aren't ancient dragons. Go figure, I know, right? But with this, you could make the argument, like, what gets classified as an ancient dragon versus their descendants. Weapon and shield? The shield, okay. Thanks, Devin. Okay, yeah, for sure. This is a good one. Elliptical Great Shield of the Tree Sentinels. Made up of several alloys such as gold and copper, as well as a material that appears to be scales, offers high resistance against lightning. I'm pretty sure this is different. I don't remember it saying that it had like several alloys. Let me look that up right quick. Protectors? Or is this a weapon? This is probably a weapon. Okay, yeah, that part's just kind of missing. Great shield said to have been whittled from the claw of a great ancient dragon, wielded by grotesque tree sentinels who yet serve the Erd tree, imbued with lightning. Interesting, okay. Corporate Nothing, welcome back. El Degusto, nice to see you again. You think the Grace of Gold is resonant with the Greater Will, and the Greater Will came with the Elden Beast. Okay. One of the biggest roadblocks to decrypting the lore is not knowing what's intentionally put there to tell a story versus if it's just some art influence that looks cool. The true lore is that the rule of cool is the law of the universe in these games. Let's be real here. Alright. So, I have a lot to say about Leyndell when we go to it. So, sorry if I'm like going to skip over a little bit of what you guys say in the chat. So, when we look out here into Leyndell, like everything looks, you know, pretty on the up and up. Like this looks like that stuff over there. However, from this angle, things don't look that out of place. However, the sword saint statues are a little bit odd, and this stuff looks a little bit more beaten down. But I mean, hey, we did just come off that highway, right? And so it's not that out of the ordinary. However, I think really things take a stark turn in how they appear when you look at it from a side angle. Man, I wish I had the free cam mod available for console. especially for this version. Okay, this will be good enough. When you look at these two side by side, it's really clear that there's a very different style of masonry going on. This stuff is a lot more, I don't want to say like primitive, but it's a lot more basic. That's probably the better word than that stuff. That stuff's obviously a bit shinier and newer. This stuff is older. And this is the kind of bridge that you'll see on like the Saints Bridge in Limgrave. It's got all the Divine Tower statues on it. So that shouldn't come as a surprise, because when you go to the Fortified Manor / Round Table Hold, there is like the Divine Bridge right next to it. So there are two ways to get into Leyndell from like pseudo Divine Bridge pathways. Now, part of the reason why I'm like stressing this is because we get to the thing that I love to talk about oh so much, the kind of older depiction of the Elden Ring. Let me switch it to noon. This will probably make it a bit easier to look at. Why is the sword big? It looks cool. Why do like weapons shrink and we don't have them the same sizes as the bosses use? Magic. Who do you think had the War Counselor Iji killed? The Black Knife Assassin theory doesn't really make much sense to you. I think like the Black Knife Assassins works well enough. It is strange that he's like covered in black flame though. I feel like that's probably more of a dev mistake and kind of one of those things where we like say lore concession to gameplay mechanics. But man, these are super faded. Holy crap. I know there's like at least one golden. Okay, this should be it. This will do for... Oh, there we go. That's a good one. So this is like the ancient Elden Ring depiction that I talk about quite a lot. This is kind of analogous to the one that you'd find in the end of Fair Missoula with the statue of the woman with the three wolves, because the circles are like equidistant from each other. And I think it's kind of like the equivalent of how the incantations of like the ancient Erd tree that you can kind of see here get simplified in some of the other incantations. And just to like show it off again, Godric's Great Rune is more like a triangle shape rather than like a cross. So I think this could potentially like depict the Elden Ring when it still had the Rune of Death, but that is just kind of my pet theory for it, and we don't know if that's actually the case. All right, thank you, Corporate. You take care. Or, actually, I'm not sure if you're leaving. Reading comprehension's difficult. Lore hunting in From games is like being an historian. Some stuff has a ton of records, some stuff you'll never know, and some stuff has been sitting in a library forgotten since 1500. The ever infamous Miyazaki like lore compendium, yeah, on his computer. The main gate leads into the giant moat, yeah. I think, yeah, I did talk about that briefly yesterday. Like the giant gate just kind of leads into a moat, and it has like the Nox style vines on it. So I do think it's a really strong possibility that Leyndell was like originally founded by, like, well, I'll save that because it takes a lot of contextualization. But anyway, I do think that Nox could have had a settlement in Leyndell before it got fully built up. The black flame on Iji's intended. It was patched into the game later on. No, it'll be there even in this version of the game. We should be able to show that off. You've seen other stuff die to the Destined Death debuff and get the black flames? Okay. I'll need to like look out for that, Devin. Do you have footage of that by chance? I'd be totally interested. Okay, you're eating Taco Bell. For calling finger remedy. I would almost ask, but I don't want to be like a food terrorist and get the whole chat hungry and or myself. Yeah, it's likely the nameless Eternal City was part of Leyndell because it's like right under it. So as we come into Leyndell, we do have like that little church, which is super cool. When I got warped into it from like deeper depths, I was like a little bit terrified. I was like, no, I'm in the end area. I don't want to be here. Because I did like the Ronnie stuff. before coming here. And as we start stepping out into Leyndell proper, we do get the kind of goofy statue. I should think of like something to actually call this. I don't never know what to do. I don't want to say like Briar statue because that could imply like the Thorn sorceresses and stuff, but I could call it the Rata Maybe statue. I don't know. I need to think of a better name. So yeah, this could depict like the growth of the Erdtree. It could predict or depict the genesis of Ratigan. We don't really know. Something I talk about often and always say we don't really know. And then there's like a bunch of the commoners that are like too dejected to move. Which reminds me, we did pick up the aristocrat garb finally. Garb fashioned from superior cloth featuring fine gold embroidery, travel attire worn by a noble of the Erdtree capital, terribly faded and torn. Abandoning their squalid birthplace after the shattering, these undead warriors are the pitiful product of unending life. So this is another item which I reference quite often with my belief that once the Golden Order came into fruition, it kind of stopped natural death, which is why these nobles had unending life, as it said. Probably because they're like graced with gold and all that, since gold is what is said to like have been like what brought the Tarnished back to life from the dead. Yeah. You remember thinking Leyndell was the end? Yeah, I really freaked out when I landed in what was it called? The Tower of Returns teleporter trap. I was like, oh, I'm not meant to be here. And you know, like after the Caelid fiasco, it seemed like that was something they were totally willing to do.
My utmost thanks for bringing me to the base of the Erdtree. Here, I can govern my own movement, and thus, the accord is fulfilled. I shall depart to ascertain the purpose I was given. Farewell. I shall leave Torrent, and the power to turn runes into strength. Here, with you. I wish you luck in realizing your ambition. You have fought long and hard. I have no doubt you will become Elden Lord. May you take the throne.
So that's obviously Melena's parting dialogue to us, temporarily. With her being burned and bodiless, it is interesting that, like, as soon as we get into Leyndell, that she's fine to, like, roam around. But, Spoonbender, it's nice to see you again. And Devin said those could be, like, a post-Crucible statue, which I think is fair. Sapling statue, Plant Boy statue, maybe. I just don't even know if that figure depicted on them is technically male. So, do I consider killing Morgoth the halfway point in the game? Well, I think sort of in a certain sense, yes. Because you do need like 2 shard bearers if you're not like skipping things to kill him. And that's another like triggering, like a point where like the triggers for quests change. Like I think Yura dies for sure. I don't remember if that affects Dung Eater, but the other like big trigger points are obviously like Ash and Leyndell, and then first coming to Altus Plateau will alter like the Radahn state of the world. So you could argue like Morgoth could be like 3/4 of the way through because you could deal with Rykard and Radahn, Rennala, and Godric, which is 4 of the 6 demigods. But with the boss rush at the end, it definitely doesn't feel like it. So I think it just kind of depends on how thoroughly you explore the other areas before coming here. But yeah, this place is easier than North Caelid, so maybe Morgoth is a good, like, halfway point, if you want to call it that. So Melina left, so maybe we won't be able to, like, get her dialogue about Bach.
Oh, going so soon? Please do be safe on your journeys. Bok the seamster
That was
at your
weird.
service, master. Ready to make adjustments to your garments. Oh,
Alright, he doesn't mention his mom yet or anything. Can't talk to Melina? Okay, not surprised there. Don't want to talk about this yet. Obviously, as we come into Leyndell, we do get like the full view of the Erd Tree in all its glory. We have a depiction of the Elden Ring underneath a tree, which is like transposed by maybe an upside down tree above it. It's kind of weird. Like those look like the roots coming into something. So I don't exactly know what to make of this door. I know there's like a lot of theories. I just kind of like leaving myself available for extra thought. And then as we like go through Leyndell, we're gonna have like a lot more depictions of trees in general. One thing that's different about like the depiction of this tree on the doors compared to like the ones in Stormvale, which are like a little bit more bare. This has like people being depicted like in the tree, which is why some people would believe that the Erd Tree like literally gives birth to people. I don't entirely know how I feel about that. I'm not fully against it, but I'm not sure that it's like quite that cut and dry. Of course. Feels bad. So yeah, you can kind of see like the figures in this. Free cam is super helpful if you want to get closer looks to things. Maybe there's like a depth of field option. Can't adjust image quality. Oh, because HDR. Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I can do. Alright. Bach's a great guy. He's so kind. If they made a DLC with more clothing options, you'd buy it. Yeah, some people are a little... I know that some want like a little more options as far as like the clothing goes. And if it's anything like the previous FromSoft games, there definitely will be a lot more of that. So coming out into the intersection of Leyndell, we have like a bunch of ash, which we don't really exactly know where it came from. So it does suggest that like the Erd Tree could have been burned in the past, which would kind of align potentially like with the war against the giants. Also in the distance, we do have a gigantic dragon embedded into a wall with a spear of pseudo lightning hitting it, like hitting into Leyndell. That's Grandsax. We'll learn more about him later. With this giant dragon attacking Leyndell, it's possible like the ashes could have come from its assault. We don't know. So we'll just leave that alone from now. One of the bigger differences between 1.0 and retail is we're not going to have any of the Oracle envoys. I almost said like Oracle encloys. Had to stop the like spoonerism. So we're going to have like a bunch of the little imp boys and more Valiant gargoyles, which is kind of cool to me that we have the gargoyles because I do think there is a more implicit connection between like the gargoyles and the Nox and Leyndell. But to be fair, there's also still like a couple of the Valiant gargoyles in retail. I'm not going to really try to engage the Valiant gargoyles because they're a pain in the butt to deal with. One great thing about FromSoft, they know how to do first impressions. Yeah, that's a pretty true statement, I think. Even if that first impression is just killing the player repeatedly. That dragon is a giant eyesore. With all the golems, the Golden Order really couldn't move that dragon. So I was thinking about mentioning it a moment ago, but I almost wonder if the dragon is kind of a statue. Because I don't think like the Bolt of Grandsax is meant to be like a literal piece of like fossilized lightning or whatever. But Obviously, the wall over by the Fortified Manor is broken open as though Grandsax landed on it. There is a little bit of ambiguity with one of the item descriptions would say, like, the inner ramparts of Leyndell have never fallen or, like, been breached, but Grandsax is literally in them. You might be able to make the argument that this thing that I'm on right now is the inner rampart, and what he's on over there is, like, the Fortified Manor's ramparts, but yeah, I don't really entirely know what to make of that yet. I was literally just talking about this in Sinister Strong Bully's stream, so I kind of like rethought my position a couple of times as to like what to think. But we'll probably get more about that later this stream. I'm just gonna run past this stuff because it's a little bit tedious dealing with them. So while we have that Valiant Gargoyle up there, I guess I'm not gonna run past because I want to monologue because I forgot that thing's there. I might have done a little oopsie. We'll see. Not big attacks, please. Oh, fudge. I had a decent amount of runes. Oh yeah, because I killed the Draconic Tree Sentinel. That's my fault. Do you think people would have eaten that giant dragon body by now? So they might have like tried to take its gold somehow. So they might have just become like fossilized or petrified after that fact. I don't know. Is the bolt directed at anything? Maybe the base of the Erd Tree? That's a good question. It would seem like it could be the base of the Erd Tree. But there's not really a whole lot there. Like, that's kind of where the sewers go, but they're not like the shunning ground sewers like down there. But I guess, like, yeah. It's still kind of missing its mark unless, like, it's trying to, like, penetrate through the ground. I don't know. That's an interesting question. Yeah, no Oracle Envoys. Idea Imp Dogs? Those are like the Erd Tree Burial Watchdogs. I guess those kind of look more like cats than real dogs, though. If only I had crystal darts, right? Why didn't it double attack? I don't understand sometimes. Oh, I should just be doing that to start off. Oh, I really need to upgrade my weapon, is what this is showing me. No point in being Elden Lord when Leyndell gets destroyed in the end of the game. Did the bolt sever the Erd Tree from its roots? That's a good question. I don't think so, because after the war against the dragons, I mean, Leyndell was still occupied. They did form like a new kind of pseudo-belief in the dragons in the capital, though. Hopefully, this time we're not going to get ganked by my own hubris. Okay. And Borquapsico, welcome back to the stream. Nice to see you again. Hopefully I'm not mangling that pronunciation too terribly. Right. So we have Valiant Gargoyle. Damn. I didn't realize it could reach that far. We have Valiant Gargoyles in multiple locations in this version. If that pisses off the gargoyle, I'm going to be upset. One of the things that I like to point out about these guys is they have like two faces in them. And they do seem to be like cobbled together of like multiple corpses, because it says like in their items that they're made from like corpse wax, which could come from champions. And I think these things, which show up a lot in Leyndell and Underground of the Nox, are also Valiant Gargoyles. They've got the two faces, they've got the wings. They're just not fully formed. One of the weirder things about them is that they almost seem to have like branches coming out of them, like their feet. Oh man, I should have just kept attacking. So hopefully we can show this off. Like, okay, that doesn't look super good for it. Oh, the arm. That's a good spot. They kind of remind me of trolls. But I don't know if, like, that's supposed to be a thing. I guess, like, their chest cavity is kind of open like a troll's. So maybe they're a troll relative. I don't know why I really never thought of it like that. But I've wondered with the wings on their back if they're supposed to be like modeled off of ancient dragons or like attempts at like creating an artificial ancient dragon. So these things are just really interesting to me in general just because of like how unique they are as far as like the enemy designs go. And also just like the placement of them is super strange. Malbet, welcome back. Wouldn't it be funny if Elden Ring was connected to Dark Souls, like everything in Elden Ring takes place within the painted world created from the Dark Soul? Honestly, I always hated those kinds of theories. I think they kind of inadvertently end up like cheapening each game's impact if they're all connected, or like the themes of each game. I hate trying to fight enemies indoors sometimes with this Ash of War. I thought that was going to go through the floor and wreck me. I was going to be upset. So yeah, lots of pages and perfumers here. Oh, I'm stuck on the floor. Okay. I was like, why am I not swinging? I shouldn't have done that. I saw him charging up. And as I was jumping, I was like, that's not the play to make. I should have healed, but I'm stubborn and try to be efficient and like get the most out of each chug. Even though we have 10 of them now, I don't really need to conserve as much. The real painting was your imagination all along. The wounded ones only have one face? Okay. I know we looked at the one side of it, and I just chalked it up to being on the wrong side, but I'll try to take another look right here after I jump down. Is there anything over here? I probably shouldn't come here until I get my runes. Oh, this just goes under. Forgot about that. Like the places you forget to go after like multiple playthroughs because you have everything. Okay. So this area is kind of similar to the next room that we're going to go into, but one of the things that I do like is how like organically like the perfumers made Leyndell their shops. Like they have like plants growing here. They've got like sensors and stuff. You can see like the perfume bottles dangling from ceilings. I think it's a really cool environmental storytelling or just attention to detail, maybe if it's not storytelling. Oh yeah, it does only have one face. No, it has two. Okay, I thought they had two. This is probably a mistake with this many imps. But if I don't alert the page, then we're all good. Okay. You don't know if this model does, but the Valiant Gargoyles seem to have two heads fused together. Yeah, so it looks like both of them do. No mercy for the perfumers. Oh yeah, I never talked to Dung Eater in the Round Table Hold yet. So maybe I should not pick up the item. Yeah, I'll leave the item to just have him like taunt us. And then maybe pick it up later. Just show it off for now. So this dude has a seedbed curse implanted onto him, which is essentially an omen horn put into his being to stop his soul from returning to the Erd Tree. Which confirms like a couple things. It'll be a little bit clearer in this version of the game, but the omen horns themselves are cursed, and just being cursed in general like stops the soul from moving on. I wondered if that means because like curses come from 1.0 strikes again, because curses come from like negative feelings. If like feelings are what keep the soul like in a state of life, so like soul plus emotion equals life, I guess. But I don't fully know. That's just kind of like what kind of makes sense to me right now. So as we go through Leyndell, we're also going to see a lot more of the banished armor. This stuff is on display. We have like, kind of normal looking candelabras, if that's what you want to call these, or banished knight armor. So while these things are somewhat reminiscent of like candle trees, I don't think that that's what these are supposed to depict specifically, just because when we do go into Elphiel, we will see like actual candle tree candelabras. There's nothing really over here if I'm remembering properly, except an angry page. Cracked pot. Hey, Rune Boy. It's kind of... Wedge. It's kind of funny that the dejected ones can get the extra runes. I didn't realize that could happen. You feel like this game could benefit from something like the Chalice Dungeons? I think like the Chalice Dungeons obviously had their issues. I think Elden Ring could potentially like do it better for sure. And I could see it like being beneficial if they made it better. But I do appreciate that they haven't like tried to ham-fist put those like back into one of their titles yet. So I just really want like a better boss rush mode at times, or like the ability to like get multiple unique weapons from something like that. Like it's something we've talked about a couple times on the stream, where like imagine being able to go into the Everjails to like refight some boss battles and get their items and stuff. I should go back. I want to go the other way, I think. I think I need to go to the top and then drop down. Ronnie's has the most fleshed out quest and unique ending. You think FromSoft are trying to make her the best ending? Also, there's a lot of red flags with the Golden Order since it shouldn't even exist. Do I need to like make a running jump for this? Well, that's one way to run and jump, right? High pages and more perfumers. This is I think this is probably like the scariest room in Leyndell to deal with if you inadvertently aggro all three of these things. Because none of these enemies really mess around. Yeah, my weapon needs an upgrade badly. But the thing is, like, when you can rely on Hoarfrost's Step to just absolutely delete everything, it's just kind of easy to not do it. And also, I was lacking the stones for a while. I should have enough now. But if I don't, I'm gonna go to that one tunnel that I unlocked and just didn't go back down. So, oh yeah, so another one of the bigger differences in this version of the game is you're going to have more Exile Knights and Banished Knights than in the other versions of the game, really. But I want to go back up top and like jump across the roofs so we could just get like some more trash items, essentially. I don't think there's actually even anything significant up there, but it's kind of fun to look down on the city and point out a few of the differences. With the Elden Lord endings, a curse on death being widespread, everything fractured and perfect order, none of those sound like ideal outcomes. Yeah, I that's why I really wish they showed us a bit more, especially like with Goldmask's ending and Thea's ending specifically. All right, so let's actually do a real jump. That was not a real jump. All right, well, we're doing it live. We're gonna ignore the rooftop for now, because apparently I suck at parkour. Alright, so one of the biggest differences in 1.0 Leyndell compared to retail is, you know how an Erdtree avatar drops down? Well, in this version of the game, an Erdtree avatar drops down. And another Erdtree avatar drops down. So we're just going to run on away to get the next side of Grace. And I'm going to head on over to the good old Round Table Hold to upgrade my weapon and maybe level up like once or twice. More runes though. Oh, if only it were that simple. Do they stay dead? Yes. And I guess this will give me the opportunity to talk to Dung Eater, and I can go and get the Seedbed Curse and talk about that a little bit more in depth. And of course, in this version of the game, the Leyndell theme plays in the Round Table Hold.
Well, I don't know, Matt. You're up.
I always look at that one first. Okay, I need hard smithing stones. That's annoying. Alright, we're gonna talk to Dung Eater, then go back to the tunnel. No. We'll do the tunnel first, then come back here, talk to Dung Eater, and then do the Leyndell thing, so that'll be a little together. I should probably keep leveling up Vigor for now. I'm pretty sure this is the proper tunnel, but we'll see. Hey, Spaghetti, nice to see you again. We just started going through Leyndell, and then I realized like my weapon needs at the very least one upgrade, like super badly. So we're coming through this tunnel. Oh yes, this one. I like it when they explode the barrels. The nice thing about like two-handing the katanas is that will allow your attacks to actually like go through and flow through these stone skin jerks. So if you're just trying to like single-hand it, you're not gonna have a good time. Okay. Golden smithing stone. Oh yeah, this tunnel. You always swap to a smashing weapon. Yeah. Those are also like better at dealing with the stone skin dudes. But in this version of the game, I can just always choose everything with Hoarfrost Stomp. Everything that bleeds, that is. Dogs, stomp. God. The dogs are almost as bad as like the great shield wielding silver tears. So I feel like I'm probably overscaling where I need to go in terms of like the weapon upgrades, because we keep getting like golden stones rather than the hardsmithing stones. This is probably like more of a Liurnian thing. But I think this is the proper tunnel for the upgrade one. Oh, no, is that the one by the worm faces? That's what I get for like playing multiple New Game Plus cycles rather than like actual different characters. Because I don't remember the proper strats. Dogs are the true Elden Lords. Death is cringe. Melbit bets holy skills and incantations are going to be required most of the DLC, because it seems odd that holy damage is so useless at the end of the base game, even though you get most of them at the end. So welcome to like a faith-based build in any FromSoft game. Sorry to say. They just kind of fall off a bit. And I'm sure like there's going to be some hate for me saying that in either like the live comments or the comments after this gets like archived. I don't like the sound of the steps. Okay. Hopefully we can get them all grouped up. Nope. Okay. So yeah, this cave is obviously controlled by like the Leyndell soldiers. Oh, that's gratuitous. Which is a kind of detail that I enjoy. Because like they're kind of guarding their city's interests. Essentially is how I take it. And obviously there's a couple of the Redmane boys in the Caelid stuff. Or maybe we need to go to Caelid to get more hardstones. That'd probably make more sense. Sweet. So I think I need to go on the other side. Large somber golden smithing stone. How hard is New Game Plus in Elden Ring? Oh, I think it's way easier than their other games. Like the enemies don't scale nearly as much in the beginning, although the ending gets more difficult. But honestly, like if you get to the point where you can do New Game Plus multiple times, there's probably like mechanics that you're already able to abuse to just kind of like overpower most everything up until you get to the higher numbers in New Game Plus cycles. Oh, fudge. I didn't dual hand it. Undead and deathbirds are allergic to holy damage, so depending on how the DLC goes, it might be good. That's true, like with the Revenants and stuff. FromSoft hates faith builds. In Dark Souls, you had to grind covenants to get spells, especially in 3. Yeah. I do wish, like, having builds accessible earlier on would be better. Like, I wish they would include, like, actual challenge modes baked into the game. Like, let's say, after you clear, like, one new game cycle, it just unlocks the ability to, like, choose a build at the very beginning of the game and choose that, or, like, give you access to more things. I don't know. Stone Digger Troll. Okay, this is the Erdtree branch one, right? Because the other one was the Trollhammer one. Do you even attack, bro? So yeah, that's the difference between Hoarfrost Step and not having it. Like, if you guys remember the first troll that we fought. So, as we've pointed out in pretty much like all these caves, they do have like these big meteors at the bottom of them. These kind of show up in the Divine Towers. So, it is questionable like when gold did come into the lands between. Especially if like gold and the stars are like in Glintstone are made of sap. And if sap comes from like amber, well, I said that backwards. And amber like relates to the Erdtree. So yeah, I think it is the Windham tunnel that I need to go to. And I goofed. The Halig Tree already feels like a DLC level. I think the Halig Tree is super well done, and the biggest problem with it is that it's like broken up into parts. So it just doesn't feel as cohesive as like Stormvale or Ray Lucaria. Great club. An enormous club of hard wood. Hammering foes with a striking weapon requires nothing but brute strength. Said to be a withered branch of the Erd Tree. This weapon, imbued with holy power, will never snap. Wielding it is quite the sacrilegious act. Or wait, no, I think the mine I need to go to is that one, isn't it? Oh, man. Either way, I know that one goes to the Divine Tower, which we should probably get anyway. That noise. That was a little bit different. Okay. Halig trees murdered many a tarnished via gravity. True story, that. And ants. Ooh, I thought that was going to kill me for a second. Oh, that's the Urchu place. Okay. Those are the things fighting each other. Man, the worm faces are like super loud. Wood folk ruins. Oh, so it broke open? Okay. Oh, crap. That's goopy. The sound of the worm faces kept you out of this area for a long time on your first playthrough. That's funny. Imagine a vast and fleshed out Covenant faction system in Elden Ring, each faction with its own deep lore and motivations. Wrath of Gold. Wait, couldn't I buy this already? Or no, it was like a Myth Force, I think. Produces a strong shockwave that pushes away foes. So that one also has the Ancient Erd Tree sigil on it, although I guess you can't really see it from the icon. It's like what I would call like the simplified version of it. So you can see it's having like the normal like circle around it and kind of looks Celtic or something. Whereas like this one is just the full on tree. That's kind of what I compare to like the cobblestones around like Leyndell and the ancient highway to the Fair Missoula depiction. Alright. I know there's like another ruin over there. I'm not too worried about that one. At least Death Blight has actual lore on why it works, unlike Dark Souls where, I don't know, man, basilisks suck. Hey, Mucho Stretchy, welcome to the stream. Just tuned in, good to see the classic core frost up. It's a little bit disgusting, to be honest. I am a little bit disgusted with myself for using it, but hey, it works. Don't get to be no Elden Lord being a punk, right? Joining Mohg's covenant only to help him lower the age of consent. Oof. Oh yeah, this is a cool tunnel to show off. I guess I died. So I do like in the tunnels, like the stone diggers, can have glintstone growing out of them, which does make me wonder whether like the stone people are animated by glintstone to some degree, or perhaps the ores within this place. With that being said, I've wondered whether like something similar goes along with the claymen. So I don't know if you could potentially make the argument that it's probably something similar to like the primal glintstones that would be in like the astrologers and whatnot. 'Cause, I mean, it doesn't seem like the dudes underground have very much use for looking at the sky. But I mean, that just might be some like Gurren Lagann style classism right there. Hey, a chest that works to give us a rune arc. Golden smithing stone feels bad. Yeah, this is one of the issues that I really think Elden Ring suffers from, where you can get into these really weird throttled moments, especially if you made the quote-unquote mistake that I did of upgrading one weapon earlier and then like switching weapons. And that you can have a ton of upgrade materials that outscale what you're working with, which just feels really bad. So I think one thing that would have really benefited the game would be allowing merchants to sell a lot of the ores, or maybe not like a lot, but like a fixed amount, whether it be like enough to upgrade one weapon fully in its tier. So let's say like, what, 12 ores of a specific type? Like depending on like what area they were. Because that would also give players like a better indication of like where their power level was for each area as well. And obviously like the merchant inventories did get updated a bit with the patches, but not quite to the level that I would have liked to see. Moog's actually Moog is the he's 400 years old covenant. Oof. Is that a third one, or is... I don't like the avian nets because they are crazy. Alright. Crisis averted. Some of the miners turned into glintstone, others into straight stone. You also saw somewhere that the puppets are powered by glintstones. So one of the weirder things, Devin, is in Raya Lucaria, the corpses in the graveyards there have blue eyes. And we just noticed on this playthrough that when they grab you, they also steal your FP. So I've wondered if, like, the Raya Lucarian things are pseudo-puppets powered by glintstone. Why does Moog's Dynasty get called Mogwin? It gives off Godwin vibes. No, it's just to troll all the Dark Souls fanboys, because it has Gwyn in the name. Alright, so coming out here, we have a malformed star. Yeah, I think that's what they're called, canonically. Which looks like a colorless Estelle. So... these things are really cool and also really annoying because they just fling like a bunch of rocks. I'm pretty confident like there's nothing in here that's like super worthwhile, so don't really want to deal with that. At least not until we go like through the Perfumer's Grotto and deal with the pseudo Estelle, but I don't know. Scowl Easy says, some videos suggested the stones would upgrade Hugh's tools, so you wouldn't need 1 million of them with how many weapons there are. I think that would be a better idea. However, like from a game design standpoint, I know part of the reason they didn't go with that was just so like they could keep the flow of loot going throughout the game. Like obviously it would be way better, but people would be like, oh, there's not enough loot in this game. Like everything feels empty, which is kind of already the case. So just imagine how much worse it would be without it. And also like the crafting systems would be, I mean, they'd be fine really. But yeah, having to spend so many resources between like the upgrade materials and runes to level up weapons has always been a little bit prohibitive in the FromSoft games to me. So this is the 2 Crystallian Cave? Yeah, because the 3 are in the Lusat place. So let's go ahead and switch off the Uchigat and put back on the Twin Blade. Oh, I can't even equip it anymore. I'm heavy. I'm medium. So this one might be a bit painful. Oh, wait. The Silver Mist might actually be decent. Like, I don't know when they fixed it, but Silver Mist is extremely good on the Iron Virgins and one of the later patches. I don't think that they actually break Crystallians, though. I'm pretty sure they don't, but it's kind of an underrated spell, I think. Melbit says the whip weapons were able to equip the Flaming Strike Ashavor. Problem was the follow attack was so slow with the whips that you were unable to set the whip on fire, so they patched it out. KD struggled on their first playthrough because they started as a warrior and used the dual scimitars. You think it did most of Caelid with +3 weapons? Yeah, I did most of Caelid with a +2 weapon. And then I went from +2 to +13, I'm pretty sure. It was one hell of a difference. Estelle is a bastard, and alchemy, antimony is a bastard metal of lead. Antimony's mineral form is stibnite, which looks really similar to glintstone in-game. Interesting, I had no idea of any of that. Do crystal darts affect Crystallians? No, I'm pretty sure that they don't. And I don't think I really even have any. I guess I do. I mean, I could equip it to show it off, but it shouldn't work, really. So you're going to get me got for this flawed strat from the get-go? I see what you're doing. No, I'm just teasing. Oh yeah, I could also just use the silver tier. No, don't. No, I'm gonna show it off. Because I'm pretty sure, but now I've got like the seed of doubt. Yeah, this dude's like super easy to parry and punish, which I didn't prepare at all. Alright, so we're done with that one, pretty much. And I just like to spam jumping attacks to deal with most of these. Should have equipped my shield again, I forgot that we have the shield boy. Or spear boy, rather. Alright. This dude will stop moving for a bit. Oh, they don't do that much damage. Okay. I guess I'm a little bit overscaled for this spot so far. I think the next hit should break this guy if I get it in. But I'm wrong. Oh yeah, because it's going to recover its posture a little bit, I think. There we go. I need to heal before I get got. And then the Crystallians just become like a staggerable joke once you break their external armor. Like, you can backstab them, but it's not that effective until it's broken open. If I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, 18. But at least it allows me to set that up a bit better. Alright, I'll heal. You win. Night Maiden's Mist sucks the life out of him. Okay, Somber Miners. Oh, Somber? Fudge. That's why I remembered this one. So where's the normal version? It's probably the other one down there. Anyway, let's go back to the round table hold to give it to the ladies. More Farquaad looking boys. You're not wrong. Alchemist saw the glittering dots and melted stibnite as proof of the constellation's influence. That's really cool. Are you just like super into this stuff, or did you like study? I'm curious. Oof. Yeah, somber hard. Feels bad. I need the normal ones. Let's go back up there. I'm pretty sure it's this one. Don't know if there's... I think there's a spirit spring around here. Nothing screams ultimate guardians like a critical weakness and ugly hairdo. They have a little bit of a glass jaw. Timmy's been going hard in PvP lately. It's been fun experimenting with builds, and they're having a blast. Why would FromSoft make larval tiers limited? It makes no sense. That's just kind of how they do. Like, honestly, if you want to do PvP, the best way to do it is by having a save state that you just revert to. Because when you're doing PvP, you're probably using consumables and stuff anyway. So, if you have a save state on your game where you still have like all your consumables and stuff, you could experiment with different builds with impunity. But yeah, I've always wished that the FromSoft games had a more robust actual save system like most other games. Because I really don't think you get more value out of the game by not being able to have multiple saves. Especially because like people cheese it anyway. So it's not like they actually like completely got rid of the ability to save and all that. Crystallians and Beastmen have short-ranged weapons that can be thrown like the Crystal Ring and daggers. It's a shame we couldn't get those weapons for ourselves. Yeah, I really wanted like one of those Chakram type weapons. Mucho's been no-lifing Elden Ring lore for around 6 months now. So you just looked into all like the gemstones and stuff. I looked into it like a little bit, but not that much. I mean, oops. My research has kind of been all over the place. Also, just like the differences between languages take up a decent amount of that. So this one's a really fun cave because you got like a lot of the invisible walls. So probably terrible for beginners now that I think about it. Because they don't really like show off that mechanic super well. Oh, it didn't bleed. Okay. And I like this one just because these dudes have green glintstone, which is a little bit different. It's poison glintstone, if I remember correctly. I rolled into that. I did the exact same thing. I learned from my mistakes. Eventually, hopefully. 1 and 2 is in Liurnia? I only remember the first one being in Liurnia. What would the second one be? Ucho says, researching alchemy, its hermetic and Gnostic roots, history, literature. The game really seems to draw from a lot of esoteric stuff for its foundations. True. And that's kind of like one of the good things and bad things about it. About like all the FromSoft games. Because it's hard to say like what you should take seriously and like what's coincidence. Or like how relevant things are. It's kind of like Tolkien in like the way that less ends up being more in terms of like explanations. The reason why I went down that ramp is because like falling down can alert them to my presence. Pretty sure there wasn't anything over here. but they just looked a little bit strange. Oh yeah, and we got the little boys. I always feel kind of bad doing like backstabs on them just because it seems extra brutal. There it is. Thought it was here. Okay. And then there's more stuff hidden. Not here? Okay, it is here. In your face, Katie. Oh, you meant the somber ones. Hey, wouldn't you know it? We can jump off the elevator to get extra things. It's so sad. By the time like we come to the mountaintops of the giants and actually get like ice caverns, like I was already over the design of these ones. This dude should have an item in retail. It's probably just like another smithing stone or something. They knew I was coming? Okay. There's one behind me. Stone sword key. That's nice. Stella says, alchemy is always a pain in the ass as an influence because you have to figure out if it's actual historic alchemy or someone read Jung and didn't know he had a horrible understanding of what alchemy actually was. Yeah, and that's the other fun thing of trying to like put the pieces of the puzzle back together. I almost fell off because I was like following them. And I feel that little guy jumping in the air to get swatted down by an enemy. Oh, this one has gold dice. That's cool. Extra runes. You love the shackle? It just lets you open everything? Oh yeah, I should go buy that from Patches. You should still be in Liurnia. Can't go there yet. So we have to jump over, I think. Or is this one the one that's like blocked off strangely and we need to go under? Okay, we could do either. Oh yeah, we also have the stones here, the lookout stones. Don't really get them too many places. That was too slow. Yeah, I don't really know what the deal is with the lookout stones. They show up like near Everjails, so you'd assume they must be like part of a sealing type of mechanism or something like that. But they don't bleed though, because they're stones. Large glintstone scrap. Yeah, anything with like a hitbox will activate an illusory wall. So the shackle should work. It's kind of like the, what's it called? The music box in Bloodborne. Actually, I don't know if that one opens illusory walls. It probably should. I also wouldn't be surprised if it didn't. Damn it. Alright, coming up here, we're going to get one of the cooler boss fights in a tunnel. I guess it's still a little bit further away. Okay. Uh-oh. Okay. No item on that corpse. Alright, now coming up here is like one of the cooler parts of any of the tunnels. It leads into a kind of structure, which is going to lead us into a divine tower. Oops. Let me put the glowstone back on. It's a warming stone. We've got like the Divine Tower statue boys, the Saint Bridge statues. And as we go in, we're going to encounter either an Onyx or an Alabaster Lord. I always forget which is which. Yeah, the music box hits the bells in the Chalice dungeons. The Broken Illusion Wall? I'm not sure, Stella. Right, Onyx Lord. This one just kind of like teleports in from nowhere rather than like having the bubble, like the gravity bubble. And you can cast apparently Meteorite. I almost said Meteorite of Estelle, but I forget there's like different tiers of it. And the nice thing about Onyx Lords is even though they have stone skin, they still have blood in their veins, so they can get got really easily. It's kind of hard to deal with them when you're using like a lighter weapon, but if you have like a great sword and or like a heavy weapon, Colossals especially, you can just chain stun lock them with jumping attacks. So I thought these things were like pushovers until I switched up my build and like I couldn't handle them. And speaking of their blood, when they do bleed, they bleed like the silvery kind of thing. Hopefully we'll be able to proc it again right here. Oops. Let's get you right here. There you go. Onyx Lord's Greatsword. And rather than teleporting on out, we can run this way and access the Divine Tower behind it. So the Divine Towers have like weird looking beast things coming out of like the sculptures on their walls, which makes me think that these are ancient, which would kind of align with how the one painting in Stormveil does depict the Divine Towers predating the Erd Tree. But again, we don't know if that's just kind of like an artist's representation of things versus how it actually looked. But it's tightly blocked shut, so we're a little bit boned. I thought you could access it still, but you just couldn't get like to the very top. So it's unfortunate that there is no Site of Grace here. I think they changed that. But the good news is we did get that bell bearing, so we can upgrade our stuff again. Oh yeah, that illusory wall in Volcano Manor. Yeah, that should still be in the game. It's like a pseudo illusory wall because it shouldn't exist, but it does. These patterns are also in Fair Missoula. I would need to double check, like I thought that at first, but I don't remember if that's actually the case, if they just look similar but aren't actually the same. All of that for a drop of hardstone. Still no idea what they're for, what are for? Something with astrology, probably. Alright, let me look at the alabaster sword. Greatsword forged from golden-hued meteoric ore. The blade conceals gravity manipulating magic. A weapon unique to the Onyx Lords, a race of ancients with skin of stone who are said to have risen to life in an age when meteor strikes were common. So that's some pretty cool stuff. It could potentially show us that like gold predates the Elden Ring arriving into the Lands Between, but it is ultimately vague. So, yeah. With it being a golden-hued meteoric ore, it does seem possible, though. Is that different from retail? I don't think so. Let me look. Okay, no, that... Oh, wait, no, it is slightly different. And it's very, very slightly different, like negligibly so. Okay. Fraj from the Elden Ring itself. Okay, did I upgrade? I don't think so.
Out you-
I grabbed the wrong tier. So I should definitely have enough of those, at least. Then we should have even more than that. So we're just going to get a huge surge in damage if I, like, bother to actually upgrade this a lot. And I should also try to see if I can upgrade the Mimic. I don't think I've really grabbed more of the flowers, but maybe.
Back already. No,
Where are we looking? So I think in retail they added a separate page to show like what you're currently equipped with. So you didn't actually have to go find it, which is nice now that I'm like kind of looking at this. So that was like what, 9 upgrades? So yeah. It's not terribly uncommon. And like part of that is like I think it's a little bit unfair to expect so many players to have to like go to that specific tunnel to be able to deal with this kind of change in weaponry. So, like I was saying, I do wish like the merchants sold that stuff a little bit more frequently, and or just having like weapons upgraded to a certain level for each specific area would have been nice. Is the woman riding Torrent in the DLC cover art supposed to be Marika or Mikola? It's arguable, but I think it is Mikola because the braids on the character match the depictions of Mikola that we can see.
have you ever felt the curse? With your whole being, the pox upon life itself, feared and despised by all. The reviled blessing. Apparently not. You are but a lamb, a stranger to defilement, ignorant of your own ignorance. You no longer interest me. I've been long without peace. Don't spoil my quietude. I asked you not to disturb me. Be thankful of the whole serenity. It is all that keeps your death and defilement at bay.
So Dung Eater is the resident edgy boy in the lands between. Even more so than Blackguard, who threatened to crack our skull open. Throughout this area, we can see like a bunch of corpses scattered around. And they're covered like with maggots and flies buzzing about. Kind of similar to Deathroot, but you know, slightly different. Dung Eater is in his invader / incorporeal form apparently. And his corporeal form is beneath Leyndell. So until we get the pox, the seedbed curse, he won't interact with us anymore. So let's go ahead and talk to Roderica so she can cower at the stench of Dung Eater, who eats poop. You love how Gideon never mentions the nightmare down the hall. It's because he knew he was there, of course.
Greetings. Are you here for spirit tuning? I need to warn you about something. A little while ago, someone started lurking in the wing on the opposite side of the round table. And I can hear, from all the way over there, the howling and wailing of spirits in fear of a curse. I can even hear the repulsive twisted malice in itself. A plethora of spirits in an unceasing cacophony. I can't even imagine. How much suffering inflicted to who knows how many souls. Not even the grafting caused anything like this to happen. You should keep your distance. I know you're strong, but please.
So I think that's a lot of really cool information that Roderica gives us, because the nature of curses in Elden Ring is quite nebulous. So this does help characterize things a little bit.
I can hear it from across the wing, past the round table. The howling and wailing of spirits in fear of the curse. I can even hear the repulsive, twisted malice in itself. You should keep your distance. I know you're strong, but please.
Alright, so that's that. Wait, let's check.
Greedy.
Alright, that's what I thought. Now we'll go back to Leyndell, pick up the Pox Curse thing, deal with the Erdtree avatars, because that's different. And then we'll come back and talk to Dung Eater. So at least with these Erdtree avatars, you can just aggro one at a time. And here I am just trying to like brute force things. I rolled way too early for that one. Gonna get clipped again? Okay. Oh, this one sucks. Okay, that wasn't the one that like faced a lot of things. I need to upgrade my mind. It's kind of a funny statement. I tried to roll. I'm gonna get got. But I got that one, so even trade. And no, it doesn't drop an item. But at least it doesn't respawn. This one doesn't appear again. More mind always helps. Do you think the avatars use their staffs to mash up the jars around the trees? That's an interesting question. I didn't think about it that way, but I could see that potentially happening. So even though we can't bleed these things because they're so big, we can get multiple hits off with the Hoarfrost step. So it's still strong. Oops. Gonna YOLO it. Oh. I YOLO'd a little bit too much, didn't have any juice. There we go. Alright, so for killing these guys, we get a whole lot of nothing. That's correct. Nothing. No runes. That's why when you said, hey, at least you get more runes for killing them, I was like, yeah, more runes in my head. But I didn't say anything because I just wanted to savor the surprise for you all. The demi-human summons combined with Mogwin's rune during the night is really useful, especially during the boss fights. Interesting. Is it really YOLO if you can come back and try again? No, it's actually the antithesis of YOLO, where you do super reckless things, because you know you'll come back. You don't get any runes for killing mobs. So, they're like coded as a boss. Obviously in retail there's only the one, and I think it gives you the golden seed. So, they didn't know what they wanted to do with this fully in this version of the game. But I did want to show that off. Alright, so now that both of those avatars are dead, we can kind of walk along this little highway. Which... let's see. Okay, it doesn't have quite the same repeating pattern as the Nox stuff, which is perfectly fine. But as we look at these buildings, while these things do have the Nox design on them, I think these are like a more modern take on things. But I do think the lower half of Leyndell could have been a Nox settlement originally. and the Nox stuff could have just fallen out of favor because of their betrayal against the Greater Will. It's kind of hard to say. As we come into this room over here, we have a Silurian Crucible Knight, which I'm definitely not going to deal with because it is a strong boy. So it's got the Silurian Spear, and it's standing in front of a depiction of a tree, most likely an Erd tree. If this is supposed to be like the Crucible form of the Erd tree, it'd be fitting that the Crucible Knight is looking at it. But we don't actually know what the deal is with that. Flanking the sides of this room, we do have the sapling statue. We have like the Nox stuff behind it, which is probably a bit more of a coincidence. Oh, cool. I didn't realize there's a golden one of these. It's kind of really funny. So this plaque here, if you ignore the Erdtree thing in it, shows up in the Cathedral of the Deep in Dark Souls 3, except it's not golden, it's just like stone. So they definitely reused some assets for that. Pretty sure there's just like a runes or maybe a rune arc or like a smithing stone on that corpse, which I'm not going to worry about. But the main important thing here is this statue, which is like the most robust version of the sapling statue that you're going to find in the game. I think there's like one other copy of this. But what's special about this one in particular is if you zoom in, it almost seems like it's tinged with gold on the inside, or like made more out of wood, or like the stone's flaking away. I don't really know. So it's kind of fun to show off. And so I've wondered, as I've said before, if this statue is related to the kinds of statues that we can see at the 4 belfries. So I'm going to go up the elevator and then I'll just like warp over there to like get a very good comparison, and then I'll warp back to Leyndell. Even though I don't really think I ever used the shortcut for anything. What sound does it make when you hit it? The statue? Sorry, I was monologuing. We can go punch it. Does the monk guy on the statue have gills? I don't think it's gills. I think they're burn marks. I've wondered if it's supposed to be analogous to the Kindling Maiden, like Melina is, or something along those lines. Like, they needed to burden the tree so it could, like, regrow properly. Because there is a bit of a reason to believe that the Erd tree is a pyrophyte, like a type of plant that needs fire to reproduce. And part of why I say that is I don't think I have a golden seed now that I think about it. The golden seeds, yeah, like their shells are like really big and thick and seem as though they're the type that would open when they get hot enough. But that's just really speculation more than anything. It is also possible that these things could be kind of like the depictions of like the kind of leaves or vines on the Nox crypt chairs and throughout some of the Nox ruins, but I think this could be more coincidence because it does look slightly different. But yeah, I wanted to show off this thing especially. So let's go back on over to the belfries. Yeah, and Katie says they're on the road to Leyndell. So yeah, I've wondered if those statues are meant to depict something like this guy, which I think kind of looks like the Elden John statue, as everyone calls the dude that has like the Mesopotamian map of the world by the old dynasties and whatnot. Yeah, this way's probably faster. Hey Saturn, nice to see you again. The Erd tree might also be an ash tree, a golden ash specifically. Burning them had some significance, but you forgot. Yeah, and that's another common thought about the Erd tree, because if it is based on the like Yggdrasil, it would be like the Yggdrasil is supposed to be an ash tree, and it's the world tree, so it would just be kind of fitting if the Erd tree was supposed to follow in that design. Obviously, it doesn't actually match up with an ash tree in real life in terms of not only the way it functions in the game, but because of just like its actual characteristics. Okay. That statue depiction is similar to what Mikola was trying to do, almost as if history is repeating itself. Yeah. Oh, you think like that depicts the dude being the tree? That's interesting. I didn't think about it that way. I could see that though. Alright, now some cool 1.0 differences. Seedbed Curse. Viscera impaled on a warped horn ravaged by a curse. So obviously in the icon and the retail builds of the game, you can see the horns coming out of it, but this description makes it implicit, or not implicit, rather explicit, that it's the omen horns essentially, which give it the curse. So, is there anything else I want to show off? Now let's just go back to the round table hold for now. Viscera? No, those are different. Like viscera are like the inner organs. Our eater of dung over here.
No. Wait. You have felt the curse. I can smell it on you. Boxed, yet tender. Apparently my seedbed is ripe and waiting. 'Twas a brief respite, I must say. Go and unshackle my corporeal flesh, trapped in the sewer jail below the capital. I can kill you and defile your corpse. Then the pox will truly be your own.
Sewer Gale key.
Go and unshackle my corporeal flesh, trapped in the sewer jail below the capital. I can kill you, and then the pox.
Alright, that's it. Do you think he prefers his dung gold tinged or regular? That's a fun question. Let's say gold tinged. Katie says, it's likely the Erd tree was inspired by multiple tree species, and the tarnished archaeologist thinks it's a birch tree. Okay. You think the imps in the Leyndell sewers have bugs instead of nipples? You should see that's the case in 1.0. You feel like everyone meets at least one person similar to Dung Eater in real life? Oof. Hopefully you mean that figuratively. Jesus. Alright, I feel like I'm forgetting something. But we'll go back to Leyndell nonetheless. Alright. So I was going to go towards Grand Sax, but I do want to show off some of the other differences in this version of the game. So as I mentioned earlier, you're going to see a couple more Exiled Knights and Banished Knights here. But it's really, really striking just how like few of the Leyndell soldiers there are. Oh, this dude says no. I guess I should have leveled up. You looked up Gowl, and it's an updated spelling of jail and is pronounced like jail. Yeah, I said it like Gowl on purpose because so many people mispronounce it. It's kind of funny. Not that I really blame them. So yeah, we've got Banished Knights just chilling around. There's a lot of them. No item on that corpse. Unfortunate. Why do you even say anything? It's... You hear this dialogue right after seeing Sullivan's cellar and the scholar puppet. If there was a wrong time for hearing a dialogue about defiling your corpse, it was that. You're defiling my corpse. Hey, sweets. Banished Knight Helm Light. Helm of a Stormvale Knight. Long ago, those who sought the Storm Eyrie traveled far from the capital and settled in Stormvale. The Stormvale Knights are their descendants. The Storm Eyrie is believed to be the home of the dragons, which watch over a great tomb. So I think this helps contextualize why I think the dragons would have, or like Prosthesis specifically would have been the Stormlord, because the Banished Knight Oleg and Ingval are said to have been the wings of the Stormlord, and with all of that stuff being related to Stormvale Castle and the castle depicting like Sarash and lions and stuff, I think that also ties into a bit of the Fortified Manor that we'll see here fairly shortly. But I think that does just kind of show off how funny it is to see so many Banished Knights here in Leyndell specifically, especially when their armor set says that they are like Stormvale's Knights more specifically. Oh, you just didn't know about the jail thing? Yeah, it is nice that you actually have Dung Eater say jail in this version of the game. Or not like this version of the game, but in this game specifically. Just because of like in Bloodborne, I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say like the Hypogean jail. Does everyone save Sullivan's potion for the Dung Eater? I mean, he's the easiest choice because he's kind of an edgy boy who talks about killing you, so people want their retribution. Oh, you want to threaten me, kind of deal. Yeah, it's nice being able to kill enemies in 2 hits again. That's for sure. I'll probably hop down there in a little bit at some point. I tried rolling. I was just slow. That one was me. I admit it. I am bad. So yeah, instead of the Leyndell boys, we have the Banished Knights. And I'm probably going to get got. It didn't let me dodge at all. That's unfortunate. I also forgot just how many Exile Knights were there in this game. I can't... Oh, that was weird. I pressed Hoarfrost Stomp like 4 times before it went through, so I was like, can you not use Ashes of War when you're crouched? I was super confused. Dragonwind Grease. So this is like the opposite side of the main gate, except between the moat. Or like the moat is between here and the main gate that you'd see like the trolls attacking in the cinematic. So now we're going to be climbing up Grandsax's wing. Are there no compound stones? Kind of weird. So yeah, they added those in other patches. An imp followed me. It was like in here. Okay. Hey B-Rad, welcome back to the stream. It's going pretty well. How about you? So I'm going to run past the next few enemies here just to get the Side of Grace. There's a compound stone. I'm pretty sure I've read that in this playthrough at some point. But I'll probably just look at it again. Oh no. My plans have been foiled. Should have just kept stomping. Let's level up. Double check a compound stone. Wait, no, I do have golden seeds. They're just upgrade materials. Oh, I have a flask tier 2. I'm really good at this game, guys. A small clump of sharp pointed pebbles. They are said to have spilled from the bodies of ancient dragons. So slightly different, but you know, not that much. Alright, let's look back at the... I almost did it again. Because I was literally like, hey, I should do that, and almost forgot. Like, probably not even 30 seconds. Let's look back at the golden seed. So yeah, I think it's a strong possibility that this thing could be reliant on fire to sprout properly. But one thing about this visual design, which kind of interests me, and it is probably a coincidence, is that I think the overall shape of it is somewhat reminiscent of the Sword Seal and the Scar Seal. Hopefully you guys can see that too. Appreciate me asking. Just picked up an old truck tonight, so quite good. Gonna rip that thing off-road. Do you do that often, going like off-roading or just like getting old vehicles? So back to some more lore stuff. This is another repeated texture that shows up in Bloodborne, specifically, as far as I know, in one location in the lecture building above the doors that go to the nightmare, like outside of the lecture building. But in Bloodborne, they've got some almost like elvish looking type of script in the very center of the screen, and it does make a lot of sense. So this... I doubt like most people even realize that this asset even exists in Bloodborne. Because the only way that I got a decent look at it was from a stream where Lance McDonald was using his free cam. And I asked him about that like little panel specifically. So that's that. And looking out towards the Fortified Manor, we're going to have a couple more Banished Knights instead of the Leyndell dudes, which shouldn't be too big of a surprise. But over the manor itself, we've got the depiction of the lion, which is supposed to be a depiction of Sarash, who was described as the Beast Lord in the Beastclaw Greathammer. And over this, we have another like little random tablet that appears in the Cathedral of the Deep in Dark Souls 3. So eat your heart out for being interested in visual design and thinking that everything is significant. You love off-roading, just rather not tear your Jeep up since it's a newer one and you can fit your dirt bike in the back of the truck easier than sideways in the back of the Jeep. That makes a lot of sense. So pulling that lever opens the big gate beneath us, which, I mean, after you get the Side of Grace, it feels like some of this stuff is a little bit redundant, which is fine. Like, it's nice being able to open doors that aren't completely a pain in the ass to go through. I guess this kind of is, but I guess they wanted a reason for people to climb the dragon. So The textures just popped in. That's funny. This little relief sculpture appears on the doors in Stormvale Castle, and also over the Precipice of Anticipation, if I'm remembering correctly. Golden seed equals Ferrero Rocher chocolate, yeah. The forbidden snack. It gets you big happy whenever you get to open the door in Soulsborne. Where's the dogs? Sweet. Oh. I was going to say, hey, it looks like there's no dogs to hound me. But then, I was wrong. Right, maybe no items there. Okay. Yeah, dogs in FromSoft games have always been kind of tough enemies to deal with just because of like how nimble they are. Some more root resin, which is probably like diegetic because there's this big root coming off the Erd tree. There's always dogs, always. Katie says, you kind of think that Placidusax being the Stormlord, or at least the same Stormlord as Oleg and Ingvald's, contradicts the timeline Oleg and Ingvald are Godfrey's contemporaries, while Placidusax seems more ancient. So, I do think there's a strong possibility that after Godfrey fought the Stormlord, he essentially gained that title for himself. So, with that in mind, I think you could probably make the argument that the Stormlord could have been Placidusax originally, and then it got beaten by Godfrey, and Godfrey just like took that title as his own, like he claimed it because he's strong, and in those days a crown was warranted with strength. So I really do like the design, or like the subversion of like one's expectations of coming into here in Leyndell, because most players are going to recognize like, hey, is this? Oh man, this is where Hugh is. And then you get the Sanctified Whetblade. Although I think you get his hammer there in retail. I don't remember if that is Sanctified Whetblade. Large golden smithing stone. This is where Fia would be. Buy my sword. Erdtree seal. Sweet. So let's check these out. Carved text glows a faded gold. Its short blade can be used as a whetstone. Grants holy lightning upgrade to weapons. And then the seal. A sacred seal given by the underlying principles of the Erdtree. It has no form and emits a faint light. Incantations must be memorized first at a site of lost grace, and a sacred seal must be equipped to cast them. So not much info about this at all, but this does show that this is the kind of Elden Ring symbol of the Erdtree. And it is different from like the Golden Order seal, obviously. And now that I have this, I can compare it a little bit more easily to like the cobblestones everywhere. But I feel like I've beaten that point into the dirt, so it's probably not necessary anymore until we get to like the Fair Missoula portion of the game. So there is no gigantic site of grace here. And this door, pretty sure it's a repeat of the Cathedral, the deep one. We've seen this door somewhere else because it distracted me the other day. And I don't remember where. You want blood tinge in Bloodborne just to kill the dogs? I was just thinking after like fighting some of these dogs that I wished we could still have like the Bloodborne pistols with the blood tinge damage to get like stagger them. So we get the coated sword here, and remember there were no Cypher Pata in the illusory round table hold, the other round table hold, I guess. So let's check our new S word. Hidden sword once granted to the tarnished of the Round Table by the Two Fingers. A formless sequence of runic invocations comprise its blade, and as such no shield can repel it. Champions would gather at the Round Table hold in days long past, when the Two Fingers could still boast great oratory prowess, and their flesh was yet still full of vigor. I guess there's no still there. So yeah, this does give a bit more context as to the current state of the Two Fingers. I'm not sure if that's different from retail, but I do want to double check just because this description is kind of interesting in general. Okay, yeah, so this is slightly different because it says when the Two Fingers could still boast great oratory prowess, whereas retail says when the Two Fingers were masters of oration, their flesh yet full of vigor. So this is like slightly more fatalistic towards the Two Fingers, whereas retail isn't quite as such. Right. Deja vu. Stella met a dog on the walk today. They're much nicer than the last Lhasa Apso that you had as a kid who was bad one day away from being an angry from dog. Oh, one bad day away from being an angry from dog. Hopefully not the teleporting variety. Burrow calling finger remedy. So yeah, this layout of the Round Table hold is the same. In retail, because the Round Table hold room here was different. Okay, so maybe I was just misremembering. Okay, so maybe the Round Table hold and retail is the same, but this room is different because instead of having the two banners and the twin maiden husks, it has a depiction of America at the top of the room. So different. We also have America on the wall. And in Dung Eater's room, we have a Seedbed Curse Boy. You miss your German Shepherd? You like the implication that the Two Fingers just stopped being good at speaking? Dogs in real life don't teleport, you think? I don't know, I've got a little guy that seems like he teleports sometimes. He's kind of like Batman. I see him in one section of the yard, like look away, and then he's like at the fence somewhere else. Finger Maiden's Prayer Book. We'll need to do like the Volcano Manor stuff and come back here. So, in this section of the Fortified Manor, we do have like the Divine Tower statues. We have the Banished Knight armors. I forgot you could break those. And all that. And the depictions of Sarash on the banners. As well as like the kind of newer looking Erdtree depictions with people coming out of them. So I do think there is evidence of like these kind of locations being renovated over time. Because of just like all the differences. Yeah, your border collie is speed. I believe it. One of my dogs is a half border collie, half greyhound, so that's why I say he's like Batman. He is extremely quick. So yeah, this is a repeating figure from the Cathedral of the Deep. This kind of design also appears in Fair Missoula at some points, I think. Just the like little S looking like things, but I might be misremembering. And then you have like the Nox design on the leaves there. So kind of a lot going on there. So it's a little bit difficult to say like whether or not this stuff's really intentional or if it's just kind of them working with a limited amount of assets. So there's no like stone sword dudes in this version. But we do have some random commoners in here. Subject Hood's Light. I feel like there were some items in here on retail. I don't think they were like super significant, but I'm pretty sure there's at least something. Alright. I might own Ace the Bat Dog. Yeah, it's a hollow breed mix. Yeah, he is an absolute monster. He's just speed all day, energy all day. He's a bit of a handful, which is kind of why I stream at night. You guys might have like heard him whining a bit throughout the stream. So yeah, instead of the 2 Leyndell Knights, we only have the 1 Banished Knight. And these dudes can still use like the Dragon Communion incantations and whatnot. So it seems almost like he was praying into Grand Sax, which is really cool. And I know in retail, there's like there's a special item, I think, up here on this platform, or if not on this platform, in the like little wooden platform the other way. What do we need to do to get up there? Is there no staircase? I probably need to climb the dragon. Duh. Yeah, so there's no item up here. I'm pretty sure they added a staircase to get up there to deal with the Leyndell guy faster. Maybe not. Might just be misremembering. And then jumping over here and into this building, there was a treasure. I think this is like a bow of some sort that I forgot to get on my first playthrough. Batman's dog was Ace? I don't remember. You once lived next door to someone who's dumb enough to get a dog that was part wolf. How'd that work out? Because I've heard like mixed things. Like obviously like half wolf dogs have had issues, and there's like reasons why. It's mostly illegal, or you like need special permits to own one. But I've also heard like other stories that like they've been, you know, really loyal companions and not that bad. Right, so coming back to this area, we don't have any more of the Oracle Envoys. This Valiant Gargoyle is in retail, so that's not too different. So let's pick up our Golden Seed and skedaddle underground, because there's no real reason to fight this guy. And we do have a high page here. Run away. Oh man. That's funny. Dumb or not, you can own a cougar in lots of states, yours included, the Forbidden Kitty. Yeah, I have I just really love big cat feet. Like, they're absolute murder mittens. So I would love to own a big cat, but man, it is such a bad idea for so many reasons. But they're just so freaking cute and adorable to me. I forgot about this guy. I ran past him and he didn't shoot me. I forgot there were 2 here. I thought there was only the 1. Oh no, I didn't go far enough. I forgot. I think he's facing... No, you could backstab him in retail as well. This guy's kind of hard to deal with because you can't, like, stomp super well because you're indoors and it just doesn't work super well. Hey, we got the clothes. And the trousers? That is ridiculous. I seriously got the whole high page set, not even trying. Garb of a page loyal to a certain noble family? I guess, do they have hands? No, it's not unique, though. Trousers made from thick cloth. Costume of pages who served the nobility. Among the highborn, those with naturally smaller physiques were considered to lack the full blessing of the Erd Tree, and thereby trained as pages. There were said to be many among their number who were positively brimmed with potential. I think that's different? Because I don't remember the bit about to lack the full blessing of the Erd Tree. That actually seems kind of significant. I want to double check that now. Okay, retail says trousers worn by pages who serve the nobility and are mindful to keep them out of harm's way. Traveling wear tailored with exquisite precision to avoid any undue shame for the page's master. So that's surprisingly different. And I hardly ever check the leg pieces because they barely ever have different lore. That's really cool. Kind of want to take a screenshot of that. Because I know Sinister Stromboli would be really interested in this. So I'm going to share that with him. Why are short people bullied in the lands between? Because they're bullied in real life. Alright. That was interesting. I should have enough to level up now too. So before going towards the Goldfrey encounter, let's go through kind of the other portions of Leyndell. Alright, let me get some more XP so we can stamp a bit more. Oh, they were not prepared for the wolf dog's kind of energy or it being more difficult to train. Yeah, my dog is kind of difficult to train. He's, smart because he's border collie, but he is not treat driven. That's a dangerous word for me to say. He's not reward driven super well like that, so it took a bit longer for him to obey commands well. And my other dog is a pit bull who's extremely reward driven, so it's just kind of a little bit of a night and day difference. The puppy likes a certain green vegetable that's like a mini tree that I can't say the name of without triggering things, which is really surprising. He doesn't like normal biscuits. He likes veggies. It's so strange to me to have a dog like that. Friend has a husky Malinois. Howl's like a mad dog and has infinite energy. B-Rad's exact same. You love cats, so a big one is a serious upgrade. You just gotta keep lifting weights so you can fight it barehanded if need be. Stella shouldn't judge because the only dogs you really like are the big ones, but you'll also never live somewhere where you can feasibly own one. But at least Mastiffs aren't wild animals. Mastiffs are close to wild animals in terms of size and whatnot. Any domesticated animal can turn wild quick with the right stimulus. Love your animals, but you never forget their killers. If you say ice, your dog bullies you into giving him some. I can feel that as well. So I think I can jump from here down there and be fine. It's kind of a bad jump though. We can jump from the other direction if I don't get clipped. I'm just gonna panic a little bit. Should have panicked a little bit more apparently. So yeah, coming up here we still have the duelists outside the Colosseum. But they're weak bodies because they don't have many clothes to resist ice. And unfortunately, I'm pretty sure this is still the only time you can really farm for their set. I don't think there are many differences, so I'm not gonna try to actively farm it. That's what I get for not just, like, being ruthless and stomping. It just feels a little bit too cheesy to keep doing it sometimes. Champion Shield Talisman on a burned corpse right outside the Colosseum. And the Colosseum itself kind of has that other depiction of the tree here. So I know the Tarnished Archaeologist has thought that this is supposed to depict the Great Tree, but that's a little bit at odds with the Colosseum being associated with Godfrey specifically, I think. So despite this being a tree, I think this is still probably meant to depict the Erd Tree, but it's arguable because it does appear in like Stormvale, and if Stormvale is older than Leyndell and has just been like renovated after the fact, I don't know. Anyway. A talisman patterned after shields used in ritual combat held to honor the Erd Tree. Raises defense when HP is at maximum. The practice had died out by the age of King Consort Radagon, but remains of the arenas where ritual combat took place can still be found in every land. So this just kind of goes back into what I was just saying with like the Colosseum is being related to like the Crucible time with Godfrey and all that. And I do think like this Champion Shield Talisman is kind of similar to the Crucible Knight stuff, but it is a little bit different. Who knows? We didn't entirely read aggression out of dogs on purpose. Yeah, I just tried to like ride Torrent. We didn't really domesticate cats so much as formed an alliance. I feel like saying that we formed an alliance is a little bit too strong. It's more like we've come to an understanding, an agreement. Something like that, maybe. That's always satisfying, just hitting the full wave. Alright, give me one moment. I will be right back. Alright, sorry about that. Dealing with the puppy, after all. Just did not want to go to sleep tonight, apparently. Wants to hang out with me. Shepherding, bird retrieval, and tracking, but 2 of those 3 fall under hunting. Yeah, the little dogs, I think, are kind of like the worst. In terms of just like their attitude.
Whatever is the matter? Please, I implore you, continue. Continue your reflections, your rhythms. I must be the one to record them. What matters this issue of Radagon, really? The Erd Tree, heart of the Golden Order, lies before our very eyes. Why must these qualms come to you now? We were on the very cusp.
Katie, I took the bet. Where's the dono? Nah, I do tend to forget, but it just tends to be like when I'm drinking water or like getting distracted by like what the guys are saying on the screen and stuff like that. So yeah, Corin talks about Goldmask stopping his calculus. And this is kind of funny. This is almost like Make Contact in Bloodborne, but obviously like it's not quite the same because his arm is bent at an angle when he's like pointing at the tree. So.
Oh, was that you? Sorry, I hardly noticed. I'm a little shaken since the Master ceased his movements.
Oh yeah, we picked up the textbook thing. I'll need to read that.
The Master's reflections had heightened as we neared the Erd Tree. while still a precise calculus. The rhythms grew increasingly wild until he simply ceased. Now the Master is facing quite the puzzle. The Golden Order is founded on the principle that Marika is the one true god. However, the name of Marika's second husband, King Consort Radagon, also appeared. Who exactly was Radagon? The Master is stumped. His finger has remained still ever since Radagon's name was discovered. Curse my mediocre mind. The Master only has me. And here I fail him.
Doesn't he do outer order emote in retail? He gives you one of the emotes. I think he gives you inner order after you tell him about Radica. But yeah, so Corin tells us a lot of interesting stuff about the nature of the Golden Order religion, and that Marika is supposed to be the one true god, but Radagon's name appears. And I think one reason why that interests me in particular is because of the absence of the two fingers. So that shows like Marika considers herself above the two fingers, whereas like all the finger reader cones are saying like, you know, we need to follow the guidance of the fingers to understand the greater will, despite, you know, Marika being the vessel of it. So that does kind of show like, I guess Marika's conceit or like pseudo blasphemy against the greater will by like placing herself above the fingers, I guess, in terms of like the structure of her religion. So going back to like some of the things that we talked about earlier in terms of Elden Ring's lore, like we do get a lot of stuff like this to help us give us a picture of things, but it's also kind of funny just how little we actually know about like the mainstay religion of the Lands Between, you know? So like it's a dead religion in some ways, but it's also not, which makes it like these kind of disparities kind of weird. So does he repeat the full thing?
Who exactly was
No.
Radagon? The Master is stumped. His finger has remained still ever since Radagon's name was discovered. But oh, how important could it really be? The Erd Tree, heart of the Golden Order, lies before our very eyes. Why must these qualms come to you now? We were on the very cusp.
Sorry, Christina, you're doomed for being 5 feet in the Lands Between. I think that's actually like what most of the FromSoft protagonists are. They're like really short. I think they're like 5'2". Or maybe that was like Vegeta. Either way. So yeah, one of the other interesting things about Corin and Gold Mask particularly is that, you know, Corin with his stupid ass blindfold on is able to discern the movements of Gold Mask here, I guess through the vibrations in the air or something like that. But on a more serious note, Gold Mask comes to the conclusion that Radagon is central to the Golden Order somehow, just by like staring at the Erd Tree and wagging his finger at it. So his one index finger is kind of like pointed out, so that's kind of funny. So he might be acting as like a pseudo finger in communion with everything, but putting that aside, just being able to come to that issue on his own is pretty striking and does show like the brilliance of Gold Mask, I guess. So we can attempt to talk to him now. He just kind of groans. I wonder if that's different in retail.
Did you need something else? Who exactly?
Okay.
His finger has remained, but the Erd Tree, heart of the Golden Order. We were on.
Oh yeah, and then his final line there, well, not the final line, but one of his lines right there, he does kind of reaffirm that the Gold Tree is still integral to the Golden Order, which makes, you know, trying to discern the difference between Godfrey's era of the Erd Tree and the Golden Order's Erd Tree a lot more difficult, because they just overlap so much. Like if it's a Venn diagram, they're almost like stacked on top of each other. Obviously, there is a big difference with like the Rune of Death being most likely active during like Godfrey's time and it being removed in the Golden Order. But if there's any other like significant differences beyond that, I'm not sure really what those differences are. The book we can check out. Scroll containing incantations can be given to a learned cleric to learn more incantations. It doesn't say anything. It's the Finger Maiden's prayer book. It does have the 2 fingers on it. Their sigil, rather.
Did you need... That is a work of heresy. Its incantations bear no lineage from the Erd Tree. Very well. I'll take it off your hands. I cannot afford to maintain my innocence any longer. I must dirty my hands to test my faith, even if it offers only the most meager of hints. I will do whatever I can to help my master.
Alright, so that also just kind of reinforces that it might seem as though the 2 fingers incantations are against the Golden Order, sort of. And that I think it would show that the 2 finger stuff is probably more affiliated with Godfrey, because we do have the Finger Reader Crones talk about Godfrey, so it seems like they were probably all of the same age. And with Maricus being the one true god of the Golden Order, asterisk, the 2 fingers seem to be hidden in the shadows, I guess. So what did we get from the Finger Maiden stuff? Did we get Flame Fortification? Yeah, okay. Because they'll have the 2 finger sigils. That'll make sense. Pretty sure we had Rejection. Alright, so I think it's probably Flame Fortification, Magic Fortification. And we got this one earlier. Or he had it, didn't he? Because Rat said he didn't have this when we looked. But I did also give... Whatever. It's annoying that this version of the game doesn't say like what prayers and what are in what book and whatnot.
Did you need something?
Okay, that should be it. What isn't a work of heresy to this guy? Literally the Golden Order Principia in the Erd Tree Sanctuary up there. He doesn't say it about that. So I'm tempted to give it to Muriel instead. So, speaking of like the Colosseums and whatnot, this is almost like a repeat of the old style highway, but it doesn't have a depiction of the Elden Ring on it at all. Or maybe it's just extremely faded. I don't think so. Yeah, okay. So similar tiles overall, just no Elden Ring. Katie said that's kind of impossible. The Golden Order was a thing before Radagon, and the Rune of Death was removed upon the creation of the Golden Order. How could the Golden Order be a thing before Radagon, and it was removed upon the creation of the Golden Order? Because like Radagon's name comes up as Goldmask does his research, which shows like Radagon is integral to the Golden Order. Though he might have said something else. Okay, no. Radagon represents reversion, while America was progress. The Golden Order is all about moving forward to a more refined, efficient form. That's why things like birth were not liked. It was no longer needed in their eye. Fingers shrunken, missing heads of Prosthesis. Radagon was an equal, though opposite force could be seen as heresy. Okay, yeah. Stella says, with Latin words, soft C is ecclesiastical pronunciation, hard C is classical pronunciation. I don't know the difference between the ecclesiastical and classical pronunciations. Yeah, we can climb the Erd Tree and then we'll drop down that way. I kind of want to go there now. But I'll leave that alone. Psych. We're stuck on the plants. Poison blooms and Miranda flowers. You keep wanting to do another full playthrough. My condolences. I think you're like the third or fourth person that's like mentioned like starting a new playthrough because of this stream. So we can't go back up the Erd Tree from this way, but there is a little guardian here. And as far as I know, you can only get the full bloom set from these ones because I don't think the ones outside the minor Erd Tree actually drop the full bloom. You'll start when I finish. That might take a while for me to finish because we're on episode 13 so far, and we're not even at Morgott. Large golden smithing stone. Oh yeah, the root doesn't drop here. Wait, how do I get back? Do I have to literally fast travel? Oh, I probably just climb up that way. Oh, because there's the one drop in the one section, but you can get back up. Okay, yeah. Okay, so that kind of worked out then. Alright, so I'm just going to go fast travel to the Avenue balcony just because it's a little bit faster to get where I need to. Roger says that Radigan fought in the Liurnian Wars while Golden Order was a thing. Also, you meant that he became Elden Lord after the creation of the Golden Order. Oh, no, I don't think, like... Okay, I see what you're saying. I thought you were just saying, like, Radigan didn't exist until the Golden Order was a thing. Yeah, no, that's fine. So keep in mind that Roger's understanding of things is coming from like secondhand sources of information. And I was also going to bring that up about Corin now that I think about it, but I can't remember what he said in particular that I wanted to talk about. So I think they have like good understandings of certain things, but they're also dependent on what they've been told. So you could say like that about how he considers the work of the figure prayer books to be like heretical. And so we do get more like exile knights and banished knights up here. I meant to say that before I like ran up, but I got distracted in the chat. We've got like these goblet type basins here, which could have collected the sap of the Erd Tree at some points. Church Latin versus Reconstructed, height of the Roman Empire pronunciation. I don't know enough about that to actually know the difference. Sorry, Stella. Thank you for letting me know. Alright, so we can jump down there. Yeah, let's just do it now. Stone sword key. You can make the jump up there from here. It's a little bit difficult to do. I'm trying to remember the real strat. I think I need to go to the outsides end. Fudge. Okay, I should have gone on the other side. That was a little bit silly of me. Crescent Axe again. We've got another random basin type thing. And that'll like lead us down to the sewers, sort of, like the top part of them. And then eventually like the later portion. Is there something that would contradict Roger's statements? So I don't remember if Roger actually says Radigan was in the Lyurnian Wars. I was just saying that, like, when you first said that Radigan came after the Golden Order, you made it sound as though, like, he literally came into existence after the Golden Order, is the way that I took it. But yeah, no, he became Elden Lord probably upon the inception of the Golden Order, is kind of the way that I'd take it, which is, splitting hairs a little bit, but not really that important. We get our Bolt of Grandsax. Spear whittled from the claws of Grandsax, an ancient dragon that once rained calamity upon the royal capital of Leyndell. The assault was the only time in historical record that Leyndell's walls have fallen, an event which marked the dawn of the war against the ancient dragons. So the biggest difference in this version is that it says that the bolt is whittled from Grandsax's claws. And if we do equip it, it does look, identical to the thing we're standing on. But it's not like the thing that we're standing on just, like, randomly disappears or is, like, 1,000 feet tall in our hands. So, like, more lore concessions to gameplay mechanics. And one of the coolest things about, like, the Bolt of Grandsax is, like, when you fight Prosthesis, he can take this kind of bolt and stab it into the ground to create, like, his pseudo-nuclear attack. Honestly, it feels... Did I kick? Oh. I was going to say, it feels easier dealing with Exile Knights than, like, a lot of the Leyndell soldiers. Both are correct. No, so whether you say Principa with a soft or hard C, it's right. Oh, okay. Thank you. Banished Greaves. Large hard smithing stone. So like I was saying in one of the earlier streams, the Exile Knights do seem to be more closely related to the Banished Knights, because even in this version they're called Banished Greaves. Iron Greaves scoured by salt winds and skirmishing, garb of Stormveil soldiers. These Greaves have started to fall apart, suffering now a moth-eaten appearance. So that's similar to the other one that we talked about before, with like the moth-eaten stuff most likely being related to Godwyn. And that stuff probably being walked back a little bit in retail. Is that not supposed to be a Crucible Knight? Who? Yeah, the Leyndell Knights aren't a joke if you get on you. Or the Perfumers. It would be 10 times harder with the Perfumers. Crucible should be after the next boss. Okay. So we got another one of the gargoyles over there. Hopefully this one's projectiles don't go through the wall. Oh, shh. I don't think those are imps are there on retail. That was kind of nasty. Wait, why do I keep doing that? I should just keep spamming Hoarfrost Stomp against these things. Have I learned nothing? Turn Fragment and another useless Somber Golden Smithing Stone. I guess it's not like really useless, but it's just kind of my like new game plus rationality. There's like no reason to come down here, but upgrades are still good. Right, so that's pretty much this section of Leyndell. We didn't go over the rooftops over there. There might be some like negligible treasure on top of some of the roofs. But this is probably like my favorite NPC in Leyndell. The song is different though, I think. I thought that'd kill it. Okay. Large golden smithing stone. Alright, and this just takes us back to the first elevator building. The perfumers and whatnot. Your most hated enemy is the pages with the repeating crossbow. For the sights, you wish he wasn't an enemy? Dude's just chilling. Imagine if you could get him to play for you at the hold. That'd be pretty cool. Or like any like the nomadic merchants would be cool too, with like their like lute type instruments. I guess they're not really lutes. I don't know what to call those. Or the like flutes. Have I no shame? You've seen my playthroughs before. Everything has a time. So we're like 1100 short. Okay, I will use like 6 runes. The dude who sings the Roman ballad? Wait, what Roman ballad? Time to go face Goldfrey. And the cool thing about Goldfrey is he's incorporeal, so I'm not going to be able to just completely choose him with Hoarfrost Stomp. The fake Latin? I don't remember any dudes singing. I just remember like the grannies, the granny bats. Shouldn't be surprising that my favorite ending is the Frenzy Flame. It's partially because I'm just frustrated at the other endings more than like me liking any ending in particular. Guardian Bracers. Like I said, my first playthrough, I chose Fia's ending. The fact that Leyndell streets are soul-filled with ash makes you wonder how the tree was burned after the city was built, but before the events of the game. Right, let me reread that after I'm on a little bit more stable footing. Alright. Leyndell's streets are so filled with ash, makes you wonder how the tree was burned after the city was built, but before the events of the game. Maybe Vike. So, yeah, I think it is strange, but like most of the ash is kind of accumulated over by the Fortified Manor. There is ash in other places, but it's not as bad, and you could potentially like attribute it to the wind and whatnot. So, that's still a good question, I think. So as we come into here, we're going to get the manifestation of Godfrey, first Elden Lord appear. Because this dude is made out of gold, fans call him Goldfrey. His axe is complete and all that stuff. But the kind of important thing about gold is that this is probably a manifestation of Morgoth's powers, is probably like the best explanation that I've heard for it. And I was so confused, like, the first time I fought him. Like, if somebody hadn't come up with the idea that, like, this was Morgoth's power, I'm not sure how long I would have thought something else. I tried to roll. I think I didn't have enough stamina to do it. I do like the Godfrey fight, because they made, like, a big axe-wielding dude, like, kind of strong. He feels pretty fair. I didn't, like, actually do my jump attack like I was trying to, which is always fun. He's got big sweeping attacks. He's got that cool stomp, which is kind of like reminiscent of Crucible Knights. Or like maybe the Crucible Knights are like more reminiscent of him is what I really mean. He also doesn't have any dialogue, which just kind of goes along with this dude not actually really being Godfrey. And with Morgoth being the grace given and being picked up by Godfrey, maybe Godfrey is literally getting this thing back into himself. That was a little bit awkward. I guess I should have just jump attacked that. I'm out of stamina. I rolled too soon. Okay, so he's gonna like recover his posture, which is annoying. There we go. Ooh, that feels nice. Oh, he lived. Damn it. Oh no, we did get him. Cinematic finish. So we finally get our 4th talisman pouch. Shorten spellcasting time? That might be useful. Could just use Dex. Well, this will probably be good for Morgoth. Okay. Go ahead and rest after dealing with Goldfrey. You chose Ronnie's by mistake. You wanted the vanilla ending initially. Now you're happy that you did an ending that's not just dude sits on a throne? Yeah. Alright, thank you, Christina. You take care. Being Elden Lord's a scam anyway. Yeah, it's like how Gwendolyn makes his sister appear. Yeah, that's probably a good example or like reference. Wasn't Godfrey's age during the Crucible, given how he led the Crucible Knights and the Golden Order came after? Yes, that's what I believe. It's actually, believe it or not, a fairly controversial take in the Elden Ring lore community at large. But yeah. Alright, so we should probably end it here. There's like a lot of cool stuff going on. It'll be a good place to start the stream. But before signing off, we do have the depiction of like the Chloranthy symbol here. This will be repeated in Fair Missoula, and it's also repeated throughout the Leyndell highways, which I talked about, you know, ad infinitum at this point. But this also appears in Arkdragon Peak and in Lothar Castle before Osiris specifically. So this is a repeated asset, and it might just be meant to represent the royal family, because this kind of Chloranthy symbol, I keep calling it the Chloranthy symbol because players who've played Dark Souls will recognize that, but this is actually based on a chrysanthemum, which is part of the Imperial Seal of Japan. So for Japanese players, they might just see this and instinctively think, oh, royal family. I'm not sure though. Putting that aside, we do have a repeat of the Flask Drinker. No, we do get the straight on Cathedral of the Deep mermaid looking statue here, and same thing with the like little tablet above it. Oh, that's the Bloodborne one. Hold on. It should be on the wall somewhere else here. Pretty sure it was somewhere else in this room specifically. Nope, that's just the Erdtree stuff. I know it's somewhere else in Leyndell, but there's like a second tablet that appears in the Cathedral of the Deep. Easiest place to see like both of these would just be like in Rosaria's chamber. It's in that room, but it's also just like found throughout the cathedral in many places. Okay. All right, everybody. Once again, thank you so much for coming to the streams, participating, whether it's just watching or commenting. I appreciate it. We will be going live again at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So hopefully we'll be able to catch you on the next one, and take care. Last Protagonist out.